Hello and welcome to the Mr. Grey Film Show, episode 7.
Yes.
7.
Yes.
I'm your host Alex Gray, and on this occasion I'm joined by Mr. Peter Cox. Hello, Pete.
Hello.
And Mr. Thomas Taylor. Hello, Tom.
Hello.
How are we feeling today?
Ah,
Yeah. Appropriately chilly.
Yeah. I feel assaulted with violence and snow.
Yes.
I feel like a battered wife.
Whoa.
I'm scared to leave the kitchen.
Yeah. Okay, so on this time that we will be reviewing The Revenant and The Hateful Eight. We were going to review The Ridiculous Six and The Hateful Eight, because that would have been a good combo, right?
Yeah,
Makes
numbers
sense.
and westerns.
Yeah.
Numbers and westerns.
And then it turns out that The Ridiculous Six is the very worst film I've ever seen in my life, and I couldn't honestly make anybody else watch it for any reason whatsoever. So we're not doing that.
It may have been the worst thing ever made, I think.
Wow.
Yeah.
You were
it's
intriguing me
that
more than I was before. I'm not going to watch it. But
No, don't. It's,
yeah, so we haven't watched that.
Yeah, anyway, we've not watched that, so it's
Yeah.
fine. Well, I have.
Yeah,
I've watched it.
I got 5 minutes into it and had to turn the thing off.
Yeah, well, okay, so I proposed the idea of these two films, and then I got a text from you, Tay, saying The Hateful Eight is bad, oh so bad.
Yeah.
And then I took that to mean, oh no, he's watched it, now I have to watch it. So I did then watch it.
You're trying to put this on me?
Yeah, because it's your fault.
You mean The Ridiculous Six, not The Hateful Eight?
Yeah, the Ridiculous Six. The
So
Adam
many
Sandler
numbers
one.
and westerns.
Oh god, so many snowy bullshits.
Whoa.
Although there's no snow in the Ridiculous Six. Yeah, so I thought you'd watched it, so that made me watch it, because I would have given up after 5-10 minutes, because it was so shocking.
That was
But I
painful.
thought, I've made Tay watch this, I must get through this. And then by the end of it, I was like, I can't. Can I really bring myself to make Pete watch this? And then I thought, well, if I've made Tay watch it, I can't then not make Pete watch it and, have that experience by you and me that I thought we'd shared like brothers. Have that gone to waste. And then it turns out that you hadn't watched it at all.
I'm not swallowing this. No, it was your suggestion. It was your idea for the podcast. I mean, I texted you like, I watched 5 minutes of that movie, and it was a choice between, if this remote doesn't turn it off quickly enough, I'm just going to gouge my eyes out.
Yeah.
For once, I'm glad I waited. I very much treated it as if it was a school report or an exam or something. I just put it off. I was like, I'll watch it the morning we do the thing, then it'll be fresh in my mind. Yeah, that means I can watch anything else right now.
Yeah. Well, luckily for you.
Yeah.
That's a great excuse.
Yeah.
Wish I'd come up with that one.
Yeah. Luckily for you, it transpired that Tay hadn't watched it,
Mm-hmm.
and I couldn't quite bring myself to make either of you watch it, even though I had. Just
By
so
which
we
you mean
could
I
talk about
saved
how
the
awful-
day.
Yeah. In
Well
the way
done,
what
Tay.
you'd saved
Well
the day.
done.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's sort of like when there's 3 climbers on a cliff, and they're all hanging there, and the rope can't take all 3 of them because they're falling. You got to cut one loose, and the one that got cut loose was me. So I fell to my death so that you two could live on.
Swung, smashed my face against a rock a bit, cut you loose, but managed to save Pete.
Yeah.
Yay.
As I said,
Yeah.
this week
Back
we're
to
reviewing.
what we are talking about.
Yeah, this time we're reviewing The Hateful Eight and The Ridiculous Six.
No, we're
No,
not.
we're not.
We're
No,
not doing that.
Oh, The Revenant!
Yeah.
Oh, God! So, The Revenant we'll be reviewing later, but first up is The Hateful Eight. Pete, you watched that a little while ago, and me and Tay literally just got back from watching it at the cinema. We went to a 12:40 screening, and it's about 5 now, so we got back about half an hour ago.
Mm-hmm.
Also, we got back from watching The Revenant last night at like 8, so we got out of the cinema at about midnight.
Yep. These are long
Yeah.
films.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Then we watched a bit of The Running Man. Then woke up this morning, a bit late, had some breakfast, and then went to the cinema and watched Hateful Eight. So it's been a whole lot of violence in quick succession.
It's been an assault. It truly has been an assault.
I'm just describing my sort of main sort of life.
Yeah.
How I go through time.
Spend one
Works
evening
like a
watching
little
movie.
break from all the rest.
It has changed the things I see when I close my eyes.
Oh, nice. So yeah, this is the 8th Quentin Tarantino
Oh,
film.
look at Pete moving things forward.
Wow.
Somebody had to.
I don't know.
Yeah, somebody had to. Okay, so yeah, it is the 8th Quentin Tarantino film.
Yeah, because he counts Kill Bill as one film. So
That's fair enough. He can do what he's like. He's
Yeah.
an artist, isn't he?
he can do what he likes, and he has.
He certainly does. He's certainly not one to shy away from self-indulgence.
Oh no. This is something I'll definitely be bringing this back to a later point. But yeah, I don't know where you want to go from here.
Yeah. Well, all right. We should summarise the film.
Yeah,
shouldn't we?
yeah,
That's
how
the thing
about
that
a bit of
happens.
that?
Okay,
Yeah.
so The Hateful Eight is about Kurt Russell transporting a prisoner. He's a bounty hunter. He's got a lady prisoner that he's transporting, and then they get stuck in a blizzard, so he has to hold up for a few days at
Minnie's haberdashery.
Haberdashery, which is an odd thing to call an inn, as far as I'm aware. The
Apparently
haberdashery
it's
is
a
somewhere
joke.
where you. It's a joke.
Yeah.
Why? Because they don't sell fabric.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
But they do sell like jelly beans.
Yeah.
It's like, here's a bed, here's some beer, here's some sweets.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah,
Nice
fine.
Navajo blanket.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they hold up in this place called Minnie's Haberdashery. Minnie's not there, and neither is Sweet Dave. He's supposed to be there, but there are a bunch of other mysterious characters, and it's all a bit. Somebody is gonna steal his bounty from under him and probably kill him.
Most of the idea is that
Everybody's in it. That's brilliant.
Kurt Russell isn't just any bounty hunter.
Oh no.
He's
Oh yeah, the hangman John Ruth.
John Roof, yeah.
Who brings them in alive. He doesn't kill them. If it says dead or alive, he brings them in alive.
Absolutely. Everybody else would shoot you in the back, nice and easy, drag you in. But John Roof,
Yeah.
he'll bring you in for a hanging.
Yeah. When John Ruth gets you, you hang.
Before arriving at Minnie's, and it takes a little while for the film to get there.
Yeah.
They pick up another bounty hunter, Samuel L. Jackson's character, Marquis Warren, Marquis Warren, sorry, Major, who has a reputation that precedes him both as a bounty hunter and in the Civil War. And they also pick up Walton Goggins, who has a much more expanded role here than I've seen him in for a bit. Supposedly it's the sheriff of the town they're going to, but his story doesn't quite sound true.
Well, yeah, they don't. The two bounty hunters don't believe
they don't
that
believe
he's the
him at
sheriff. But
first.
he plants enough doubt in their mind that if
Oh.
you leave me here, you're gonna.
Take away the biggest part of me.
Yeah.
Before we move any forward, spoilers. We're gonna talk about any aspect of the film that we like, and that might be the ending. And we'll also do that for Revenant as well.
Yeah,
So-
whole thing.
Spoiler alert. Dealt with. Okay.
Yeah, don't listen to this before you go and watch the
No,
movie,
don't.
or even afterwards.
Hey,
No, yeah, they're both.
way to go viral.
Yeah. Okay, well, first off, these are both great films, I thought, and you should definitely watch both of them, and you should definitely watch them before listening to this.
But give them space from each other.
Yes.
You don't feel like watching them both in the space of 24 hours was a good thing?
I really don't. No,
Yeah.
I think I think the Hateful Eight. It's going to be a brilliant movie the next time I watch it, but watching it so closely after watching The Revenant is
a bit much.
It felt it felt a little bit because The Revenant's so serious. Hateful Eight felt a little bit cheesy.
Yeah, cheap,
Yeah.
hammy, and over the top, which all Tarantino films are. They are
Yeah,
all of those
the
things. all
last
of
few
them.
especially, sort of the last sort of super. I mean, it's never been super realistic, but I think Jackie Brown's probably the last one that took place in a universe you could believe existed. At a stretch, maybe, but you could. Kill Bill onwards, he's become progressively more cartoonish, I think. And he sort of, every time he makes a film, he picks up more trademarks. He builds the brand of what a Tarantino movie is, and each time it moves a bit further away from reality and becomes, as you said, a bit more indulgent.
Yes.
My great thing at the start of this film is I thought that had been pulled back a bit, actually. I know I've seen a lot of people saying that, it's so slow, it takes an hour to get anywhere, it's just talking. I didn't mind that.
No.
But what I did like about it was that's what it was. I mean, it's got Morricone's score, which is great. and it's quite pared down, and it doesn't have that many of the usual Tarantino indulgences going on for a while. That's my favourite bit of the whole movie, is the journey there. Actually, that was what I like the most.
I would say I liked the bit where Samuel L. Jackson and Kurt Russell and Jennifer Jason Leigh are in the carriage. I liked their three-way conversation. He gets out a letter that Samuel L. Jackson gets out a letter from Lincoln and shows it to Kurt Russell, and they have a really nice exchange. They're sort of wary people. They know each other's reputation very well. They've met on one occasion. They had a steak dinner together. They talk about it, and they would like each other quite a lot if they were in any other situation. But Kurt Russell is so on edge right now because he thinks he's going to get his bounty stolen from him that they can't be friends right now. So they're wary, but they have respect there, and I like that a lot. And then Walter Goggins' Sheriff Chris Mannix joins, and that put a bit of a sour note on the journey for me. I definitely like the first half of the journey more than the second. For some reason.
Enough.
Yeah.
I mean, there are other things absolutely that I do like about the film, especially. Actually, I said that was my favourite stuff. My favourite stuff is actually when they just get there. There's what I thought was a great mislead, because by that point the storm is really bearing down on everybody.
Mm-hmm.
There's a running thing about not being able to get in the door properly and having to nail it shut, and then someone else comes in and they nail it shut.
I really liked that. That was a nice touch.
A few of them are sort of tasked with sort of stabling the horses and getting everything sort of sorted in that sense, and they run a sort of a trail out to the outhouse. With these sort of stakes that they have to shove into the ground, and it reminded me very much of The Thing, which is quite apt, really, because it's Kurt Russell, and it's the winter sort of pressing in on some people who are shut in, and it's Morricone's music, which was some of it's even from The Thing, that unused music, and the scene where they're laying that out, they're laying out the sort of like the pickets, the stakes to get. Builds to this incredible tension in that scene. I really thought someone was going to attack someone else with one of the stakes.
Definitely got that impression.
And then it's a mislead. It just cuts off very abruptly, and you go back to what was happening before, and you don't even see the outhouse. It doesn't become part of the story. But I really liked that, and I didn't even mind that it was a fake out. I liked that I'd been tricked for a minute. I was like, oh, I don't know where this is going. I like that he's playing with me a bit here. So that was one of my sort of highlights of the movie.
Yeah, definitely. There were moments where it did build up tension really nicely like that.
The soundtrack was fantastic for that.
Incredible. Yeah. Ennio Morricone, yeah?
Yeah, I mean,
he's fantastic.
He's a legend anyway from all his 60s and 70s work. So
yeah, he must be getting on now.
Yeah, he's in his 80s, I think.
Still got it.
Definitely.
Whatever it is.
Although it was very much like all his others, he's just doing the same thing again, but when you hit on a formula that good, and, you know, obviously he tailors it to the scene and the film a little bit, but it's, you know.
Well, this is the stuff that Tarantino grew up on and has been referencing his whole career.
Yeah, and that's what he wanted. He didn't go to Morricone and go, I'd like you to come up with something entirely new that no one's ever heard before. No, he was like, I want this to sound and feel like old westerns.
Yeah,
and it does
and he's
perfectly.
Shot it to look like it. I think for a lot of the time it's one of his most beautifully shot films. For a film that is ostensibly in one location for the last 2/3.
Yeah.
Actually, I think that the first 5 to 7.5 minutes of the film were absolutely beautiful.
Well, it's a good job you didn't miss them.
Yeah, no, they were well worthwhile. Some excellent artwork going on there.
Yeah. Okay, so we actually went to go see the film on Friday night. It's now Sunday. We went to go see it, and we got to the cinema a bit late because fucking Google told me it was on at 8:20, and it's actually on at 8. So I blame Google. Anyway, we got there at 8:25, then queued up for 5-10 minutes. Well, you got to the guy, and the guy said, "Oh, it started 5 minutes ago," and you made the decision.
I made the executive decision
that
we are professional film critics. there's 5 or 6 people out there hanging on every word you say.
One of those is going to be me listening back to this.
Yeah,
and myself. Yeah. And I don't want to let them down.
And we're going to talk about self-indulgence.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the only 5-10 minutes of this turn out to be about a minute of shots of Wyoming in winter covered
And
in snow.
A nice
And then
cross
there's
of Jesus.
Yeah.
about
long
a
pull-out.
3-minute slow pull-out of a Jesus cross in the middle of the snow, covered in snow, and then the carriage pulling up in the background. I reckon we probably would have missed the first minute or so of Samuel L. Jackson in the road talking to the carriage driver.
Okay.
That would have been it.
Yeah, but still, I think you made the right choice. If I'd been in that position,
Yeah.
I wouldn't have gone into the movie.
Fantastic.
Really?
No, I can't miss the start.
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
so fuck you, man.
Also, the pair of you seem to have some anxiety about walking into a movie that's started because it offends the people around you.
Oh no,
In the cinema.
that's not my issue. My issue is I want to see a complete piece.
Yeah.
If there's something defining at the start or not, it's irrelevant. I want to see it as a whole. You know, you don't get up 2 minutes before the end.
No,
You don't go
but the
into-
ending is more important than the first 2 minutes at the beginning.
Yeah, but is it? I think there's an important thing about the way movies start. This is a bugbear of mine when you get a movie that starts with credits on screen and dialogue happening at the same time. No, set a tone. Your great directors take a few minutes and set a tone. They have an opening bit. Every Cronenberg movie has a title sequence. Every Lynch one does. You can go on for all sorts of different sort of auteur directors. They either save everything till the end, or they put something at the start to go, put your life to one side and have a look at this.
Your attention, please.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think if you don't do that, if you just rush in with like having credits and dialogue going on at the same time, and I'm like, oh, don't just give me a minute.
Well, anyway,
Off my soapbox.
the executive decision of whether to see the film then, having missed the first few minutes, or to leave and come back, was given to Mr. Tay, and Mr. Tay decided, no, we will return and view this properly.
Like a real man, I made the decision.
Yeah. And then you've got to stand by it.
I am standing by. I think
Good man.
it may have mostly been arty shots of snow.
Yeah, which we hadn't seen enough of in Revenant.
No.
So-
Can't
Certainly
get
not.
enough of that snow.
Yeah, so like a good general, you just stick with your decision no matter what it was.
Thousands died, but they died bravely.
It's all good. Anyway, actually, back to the
Yeah,
viewing the film.
so
yeah,
they get to minis.
Yeah, so they get to minis and all the suspicious characters are there, and you know, it's obvious that some betrayal is gonna happen at some point. Somebody's out to try and save Minnie and kill Kurt, and probably Samuel L. Jackson as well. But who's it gonna be?
Yeah, and you've got an eclectic sort of selection of choices. Tim Roth is great as he's playing a sort of he's the hangman that they're supposed to be taking the
Yeah, or he at least claims to
yeah,
be.
Daisy Domingo, played by journalist Jason Lee. Yeah, he plays him as a very sort of eccentric Brit.
Yeah.
That sort of it actually, when I was watching it, I was like, was Christoph Waltz busy? Because it's the kind of part that Waltz would have been great in, but Roth owns it.
Oh yeah, he does.
He's actually the best I've seen him for a little while. You've also got Michael Madsen, who
Michael
fortunately
Madsen
has little to do
Yeah,
because
he
he
wasn't-
normally fucks it up when he does.
Really?
I
No, I didn't. I really liked him in Reservoir Dogs, and I thought
Yeah, that's
he was
kind of the
okay
exception.
in Kill Bill 2. Not amazing, but certainly he didn't fuck it up.
Well, no, maybe fuck it up's a bit far, but he's got a limited range, and I think
Yeah,
Tarantino wrote it with him in mind, but also went, well, we'll give him like three
just a little
important bits.
bit. Yeah, he doesn't do a lot really. In a way, it's kind of wasted. But then I'm not like offended by that. I don't want to see Madsen pull it out of the bag or anything. Yeah.
Bruce Dern is there, who's great in so many things. He's a bit of a legend. He's playing the
Bruce Dern.
plays the general.
Oh, the
general sat in the chair, the
general was
unassuming
great,
general.
yeah.
The Southern General, yeah.
I think he was in Django briefly. He was in a flashback to I think when Django was being branded. I think that was him. But yeah, he's great.
We've got
Demian Bashir, who I think is one of the few newcomers to the roster of people Tarantino works with in this one, as
Senor Bob.
Senor Bob.
Senor Bob. Yeah, he was good.
I loved Senor Bob.
He didn't have a lot to do, and he just said short lines in a thick Mexican accent.
Yeah, but he had quite good presence.
Yeah,
he didn't
he
need
did.
to be doing a lot of stuff. He was sort of just there, like
Strong
a question
silent.
mark.
Very early on, Samuel puts a question mark over him. Because obviously, Samuel picks up there's something something wrong here.
Yeah.
And as you watch the film later on, you find out that it must have been blatantly obvious to Samuel that there was something very, very wrong.
It becomes
here.
apparent later on how well he knows Minnie and how much he goes to Minnie's haberdashery.
Yeah, there's a lot of information that's kept from the audience until the last hour for purposes of reveals, and that is one of them.
So it was like he kind of had a little Kojak moment, didn't he?
Yeah, it had a nice whodunit feel. In the middle of the film, you get this whodunit feel, and that's really nice. My problems are just with where that eventually goes.
Well, that's all right. But yeah, the stew, the bit where he reveals that I don't trust you, Senor Bob, because you claim you made that stew, and
that's
every stew I ever had, no matter the meat, tasted like the chef's stew. My mum's stew always tasted the same. Uncle Charlie's always tasted the same. And that stew right there is Minnie's stew. And I know it, and I've had it 100 times. You're fucking lying. And then he shoots him.
Well, I don't think he needed... I mean, that was a wonderful bit, because everybody loves stew. But it was a line there where it must have been so obvious to him, because it's like, well, if you've only been here for 4 months, then you won't remember the sign that Missy had just over there above the bar. Now, that sign used to say, no dogs, no Mexicans. But she took it down because she started to let in dogs. And it's like, clearly we're not going to give the bar over to Senor Bob.
And yet, in the flashback, she appears to have no problem with his presence.
Yeah, that was again
which is a bit of a plot hole for me. It didn't ruin it, but it made me go, hang on.
Actually, I think this film might have a few holes. Like the general premise of it is they end up stopping at Mrs. Haberdashery because they're caught in a blizzard. Yeah, Kurt Russell would not have stopped at Mrs. Haberdashery, as wonderful as it is, if he wasn't caught in a blizzard. And they only knew about this blizzard 3 hours before they get to the haberdashery, because their driver is a bit worried about it.
Well, 3 hours before they meet Samuel L. Jackson, and then they're riding with Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah, they're riding
another amount
away.
of time. Yeah, maybe another hour or two.
But the kind of Daisy's gang, or her brother's gang, are going. They're trying to rescue. Rescue is this was it all turns out to be. So I'm skipping right.
Well, we said we were going to talk about these bits.
I can't see why
they would go.
If Kurt wouldn't have stopped at the haberdashery, why are they building their entire plan around waiting at the haberdashery, and knowing that he's going to be there for long enough to lose his focus? I mean, because if the blizzard hadn't come, he might have stopped for a coffee and then gone on. But the whole point was waiting for him to shut his eyes to take his focus away.
I mean, I think they could have formed that plan once they got there. Say, we'll have to either form an ambush or we'll lie in wait for him to drop his guard. There's a blizzard coming in. Let's wait. He's going to be here a few days. But it's the showing up to the haberdashery in the first place. They wouldn't do. They would be at Red Rock waiting on Minnie. And then they would see the blizzard coming in. They go, oh, fuck. We're stuck here. They're stuck out there. Let's just wait a few more days till Minnie comes out. And then we'll ambush him at the entrance to town or something.
Much better plan.
Yeah. So that in itself is a plot hole as well.
Sorry, Quentin.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, also it's whatever. It's fine, really.
Yeah, but he's put. Yeah, there are elements to it, but he's trying to get everything in place. It's the kind of thing where you feel like he worked out the middle first, and then I really want to do this bit where everyone's in one room.
Yeah,
and
he
then
does it, doesn't he? Well, he came
that.
up with one of the central scenes for Inglourious Bastards, which was the 25-minute bar scene. So he came up with the idea for that and then wrote a movie around it. I think he's been quite clear about having done that and honest about it. Like, I just had this scene in my brain and then I wrote a movie around it. I was really happy with the movie, and the entire rest of the movie is just as just, but it's that scene really stands out as being really important. And he probably did that with Hateful Eight as well. He probably had a couple of things in mind, I'd really like to put this scene in, and this one and this one. And then he wrote something to tie them all together, which is fine. I mean, make your movie any way you want. Really.
Yeah. And he certainly has. This is very much his thing. My hope at the start that he was changing it up a bit is
He's
not
not
how
gonna
it goes
change,
at the
no.
end. Well,
He's-
no, it was optimistic of me, I know, and the reports have been mixed, but I was really... The opening really made me think, oh, this is going to be a bit different to the last couple. And there were some great things that I'd like to briefly praise. Kurt Russell's one of my favourite leading men. He's not the best actor, but I always enjoy him in a lead role.
He's got great presence.
Lots of great 80s
Yeah.
stuff, and he's had a mini resurgence at the moment. Bone Tomahawk as well is well worth a look. That's a western that also gets its bit of blood
Yeah.
by the end. Yeah, it very much turns into a horror film. And that's really worth a look. And it's great for me to see him having a big role for a while in this movie.
Oh, I wonder if he'll die before the end.
Well, I didn't say that. I might have just gone to sleep.
He dies, everybody.
Yeah, he dies halfway through, and you just go, oh.
Yeah, it was sad to see him go. Like, I thought... Cause,
And what a way!
yeah, well,
Lots of-
somebody poisoned the coffee pot. And Kurt Russell has a couple of sips. And that was some serious poison.
Well, yeah.
Because he coughed up blood and died within a minute.
Mm.
And it was pretty serious.
But as good as he is, I was really happy with seeing Samuel L. Jackson be on form. I haven't seen him on in years.
Yeah.
He really seemed to bring his A game, and it made me think, I haven't seen this from you in a while. He's the lead. He is the lead, and he's great doing it. Especially after Django, where I found him, he was a bit panto mugging as Stephen.
With a nigger on an egg. Yeah.
Yeah. This felt like a nice, big, beefy role for him that he really grabbed hold of.
Yeah.
If we're talking about cast members, then Jennifer.
Jason Lee.
Yeah. She was... I thought fantastic.
Yeah.
I really felt that this was a very intelligent, angry, vicious person putting on a bit of a quiet facade to get through this.
She takes a beating.
And she really...
Oh,
yeah, the
God,
physical
you feel
performance
so
from her was
bad for
fantastic.
her by the end of the movie. Like, you know that she's a vicious killer
Mm-hmm.
and she would murder everyone if she got half the chance. But the shit she goes through.
Some of it feels a little glorified. I don't know.
She ended up looking like the last scene of Kerry.
Yeah, it does go that
Yeah,
way.
and it's the power imbalance as well. Like, she's the only woman and she's in chains, and she is from the very start.
Bruised.
Yeah, bruised and battered and subject to the will of anybody there, especially Kurt Russell, who is in a way quite nice to her, but very hardline and mean to her. That was also a really nice touch, the way Kurt Russell actually was quite respectful to her in a way. Like, he'd give her a
He
cup
was
of
stern,
coffee,
but
He was
and then he was
fair.
like, "Do you want a top up of booze in your coffee?" And like, he gets her some soup or some stew, and he's like, he's all right to her, but he's also like, "You ain't fucking crossing me, and I know you will. So be in your fucking chair."
As soon as he steps out of
Yeah.
line, there's a lot of...
Super tiny niggle for me. There's a nice bit in that relationship where they're both trying to eat stew at the same time.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
not
and they're
working out.
pumping shoulders.
So he finally takes the shackle off.
Yeah.
And I thought, is this the first time you've both eaten?
Yeah.
Is this the first time this has happened to you guys? Really? It's taken till now?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, maybe.
Doesn't mean
I don't know, maybe
anything.
this is the first time they've eaten something out of a bowl, like he hands her some jerky. or
Let's
something.
not get into 5 minutes on the eating of the stew. Yeah.
Okay, so the other big thing I wanted to talk about was General Sandy Smithers is there to visit his son's grave, and you don't know what happened to his son. He doesn't even know what happens to his son. He just knows he's missing, and he presumes he's dead. So he's built an honorary grave. And then General Sandy Smithers is a Southern general. The war is over for several years now, probably 5 or 10 years.
Yeah, I think it's about time.
Yeah. So everybody's at peace, but everyone's still really bitter.
Pissed off.
Yeah. So General Sandy Smithers, Southern general, massive racist, as Southern generals were, presumably. I don't know my American history.
Yeah, no,
but
they-
yeah.
You're
they
not far
definitely
off
were.
on the mark
Yeah.
from what I know.
Okay.
No,
So
definitely. Bang on, yeah.
he's not a fan of Samuel L. Jackson. But then Samuel L. Jackson was like, this man and I shared a battlefield because they were clearly at a significant battle in the war, one where a lot of black people died and were sacrificed by the South. Something happened there, and Samuel L. Jackson's clearly quite bitter about that. But he's like, we shared a battlefield, now let's share some stew and have a talk about what it's like after the war. What's life like after the war? But it's clearly an in for him to then goad the general into attacking him because he wants to kill this guy, but he's in the presence of a different bounty hunter, a hangman, and now a sheriff.
Mm-hmm.
So he can't just shoot this guy. He's got to make it legal. So he tells a story about what happened to his son. And it's never established that this story wasn't true or that it was true. But the story is fucking horrific. He says, your son came up on this hill to kill me and collect the 5,000 and the bragging rights that were the bounty on my head. And I caught him and I stripped him naked and I walked him through the snow for 2 hours and then I made him suck my dick and then I killed him. And the story, it goes on for ages. It's like, what, a 3-minute story?
Yeah,
of just
probably,
a monologue by Samuel Jackson telling.
I'm not sure we needed to see it.
Yeah, also there's flashbacks to it actually happening.
What was really lost about that scene was Senior Bob was playing.
Silent Night.
Oh,
Silent
yeah.
Night in the
That was a
background on the
nice.
piano.
That was
It
a very
really
nice touch,
touch,
actually,
yeah.
and his mistakes as well because they made you feel tense.
Mm.
Like when he hit a bum note and started again.
Yeah, it gave like a little break to the story, and you're like, oh god, and it started up again. You're like, no.
But the story itself is where I felt the movie starting to turn. It felt tonally like it was out of step with everything that had happened before. And I'm not saying it was bad per se, but it was the start of the move into the second half of the movie where things get a lot more Tarantino-y.
Because when we had the cut back in time and the voiceover coming
by
in,
Tarantino himself,
yeah,
and
explaining what's going on.
Is that well, the end of that story is most likely where
that's where the intermission's supposed to be.
Supposed to be.
see
So
it with
yeah,
intermission.
so it's the first death. General Sandy Smithers. Samuel L. Jackson actually places a gun on the small table next to where the general is sitting, and he then goads him into doing it. And the general knows he's goading him into do it, but he just can't take somebody talking about his son this way. So he goes for the gun. Samuel L. Jackson easily shoots him down, and then just puts his gun back in his holster, leans back, totally satisfied with himself. Break. That's the first half of the movie done. And I could have really done with 20-minute
Yeah,
intermission there. That would have been really great. Not even the fact that with the intermission, the movie is 3 hours and 7 minutes long. I just feel quite exhausted after that, and I could do with a break. So,
and I actually
it's a shame.
It would have then made a little bit of voiceover.
Yeah, it'd been a nice kickback into the story going.
That would have worked
Again,
so much better.
You don't just jump right in, you have something to seed your audience into. Settle down now, it's time to get back into this.
Yeah.
I think Quentin was dealing with some really interesting social issues again in the movie. Having Samuel L. Jackson play, I'm a major from the Northern Army, but other than Kurt Russell, and even Kurt Russell says the N word, which I've used anyway. But yeah, these people are so incredibly racist towards, which I suppose it would have been back in those times.
It is a lot in this film.
What, race or the word?
Just the racism, the blatant. Like, I mean, I know it's indicative of the times, and there's a statement in there that it's indicative of now as well, and that was one of the other nice things I liked about it. Not that exists, but that Tarantino tried to deal with something that's in the world right now. The Lincoln letter that Samuel L. Jackson carries, and the reason he carries it is very indicative of how a black man in America now has to put on, or well, not put on, but have a certain something about him to be taken seriously. And it's still true. It's unfortunately still true.
Well, you can be a multi-millionaire, walk into a bank in America, take out $200,000 out of your own account, walk out, and have the bank manager phone the police to arrest you.
Yeah, that happened.
That happened just the other day.
Yeah.
So there is
for a minute there, I was like, oh, he's
dealing with something.
It's not just a cartoon in a bubble. And I liked that he sort of put that in there. It might have disappeared quite quickly.
Yep.
As things went on.
Well, he's not really one to be dealing with social issues.
No,
That's not what he's there for.
No,
He's
More
there
in-
to to make a movie and talk about movies and
Yeah,
you know,
he's a
his-
campfire story man.
his
That's what his movies are.
major
there.
interest is stories and films.
Yeah, and his own voice.
What I liked about Samuel's character was, I think many people would have kind of painted him as the paragon. He would have been perfect, but he had quite nasty things that he had done in his own history. The story of where he escapes from the prison camp that they put him into.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
no one's
yeah.
got a clean slate here.
Yeah,
No, Samuel L. Jackson is not the good guy. He's just the main character.
Yeah.
He's the guy you're rooting for, maybe? You're not really rooting for him, though.
Why are you rooting for anyone? And who are the
Yeah.
8? There's more than 8 people
Oh,
in
yeah,
this.
but-
I don't know who the
but-
8 people are. That's still a minor
Chan-
thing. I was like, well, yeah.
Channing
Channing Tatum fucking turns up.
doesn't make the 8. Yeah,
he was
he's
completely unnecessary.
yeah, he's in the cellar the whole time. Yeah, he had a nice time.
And on my walk here today, because one of my issues with the movie is that by the end, it's just a much of a muchness, and it's all these different Tarantino-esque things, and it feels like another version of what we've already seen. I was like, but what is it that we've already seen? And then it struck me that him being in the basement the whole time, which they would have fucking checked, especially with a prisoner. They would have had a look down there, but never mind. Him being down there the whole time, and that whole setup, that hour and a half or however long it is before we find him, is basically a massive expansion of that bit in Pulp Fiction where there's a guy in the bathroom.
John
Yeah.
Travolta.
Yeah, true.
No. When Samuel L. Jackson and John Travolta go to collect the briefcase and they have the big kahuna burger from the kid.
Okay, yeah, no.
Yeah,
It's that scene, but expanded and embellished and with all these other things added into it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true, actually. It is. So, the whole thing, in a way, is a massive whodunit. And it's not a who actually did it, but who's gonna do it. So, I like Tarantino dialogue.
Yeah.
And I like Tarantino stories. But I must admit that he doesn't... He couldn't write Poirot, could he? He couldn't actually intrigue you in a way that made you think, oh, I wonder who actually is the bad guy. Because it so could have been anybody. And there was no... It wasn't seeded at any point, really. Apart from the Mexican guy, you're kind of like, oh, he's probably the bad guy. But he's so obviously the bad guy that you think there's definitely something else going on. And it's never really seeded. So when there is the payoff of, okay, it's revealed now, here are all the bad guys, then at some point in a Poirot or a Miss Marple or something like that, in a whodunit, you can then go back and go, oh yeah, that makes sense because of this, this and this. And that doesn't happen in this film.
No, there's
Because
a
I don't
laboured flashback instead,
Yeah.
which feels like it's kind of sloppy, lazy, bad storytelling. I like you. I love his dialogue. I think it's good in this. I've seen people say it's not good in this. I think it is. Gets me through that first hour and a half fine.
Yeah, I'm gripped in the moment of what I'm seeing. And I don't want to look away because I might miss the next cool bit. But I'm never gripped with, oh my god, I have to know who the bad guy is. And that's a bit of a shame, I think.
Yeah, it really tumbles for me in the last sort of 40 minutes. I wish it didn't, because I really was enjoying it so much. And I really wanted this to be in that like, top tier of Tarantino for me. And it just got a bit messy for me. And not just in the amount of blood splatter.
Yeah.
There is a lot of that.
Oh,
By
there's
the end,
certainly
this is
a lot
an
of that.
incredibly violent film. It just felt a much of a muchness. Like we've been down these roads, and I didn't feel surprised or that the story was worth the amount of time it took to tell. There wasn't the payoff that I
It didn't need
wanted.
to be 3 hours, did it?
It's strange, the whole thing seems to be tonally consistent the whole way through, but also, tone's not the right word. No, what I'm trying to say is that there's this level of tension that is consistent the whole time. It's not like, oh, it's nice and happy, and then something happens and everyone gets their world turned upside down, and then there's the big payoff at the end. It's just always tense, always anything could happen at any moment. Anyone could turn around and shoot anyone. And you never... Yeah.
There was some great humour in it as well. I mean, as you said, like, each time someone comes through the door, everybody in the room shouts, "Close the door!
Yeah.
No, you gotta use 2 places."
Yeah, they knock on the door and say, you gotta kick it down! You gotta kick it down!
that was really, really good. I loved that, and there was some
Yeah.
brilliantly funny lines in it, which I think Tim Roth gave my favourite, which was, well, you Americans, you're not the type of chaps to let something like
unconditional surrender
just get
Yeah.
in the way of a war.
Yeah.
I loved that line.
No, there is lots to praise about it. I'm not sort of getting down on the film too much. I did enjoy it, but as it went on, instead of being satisfying, it just felt excessive. And by the time you get to some of the final scenes where Daisy is bargaining with a very badly wounded Samuel L. Jackson's character, Marquis, and Sheriff Mannix,
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, just wrap it up, please. I got impatient with it, and I kind of wish I hadn't, but
Yeah.
I did.
I didn't find that I got impatient with it, or that it could have gone on for another 10 minutes, frankly, and it would have been the same, or it could have ended half an hour earlier, and that would have been the same, because it never built up to an ending, and therefore it never overshot itself. You said you found the last half hour to be where it started to lose it for you, right? For me, it never lost it, but then it never really gripped it either.
Okay.
I was never 100% hooked by it.
I just feel like introducing the whole gang thing, and Channing Tatum isn't bad; he's just in it. But that I feel was a misstep. He put too much in the stew. If you rounded it off as a whodunit and focused on that element and made that stronger and satisfying as a finish, and then built a conclusion there, that's, I think, a solid movie. But this extra bit is an ingredient that I don't think it needed, and it just undid a lot of the good work.
Yeah, because what's his face here? Sheriff Chris Mannix is there, and basically it's his decision: do I shoot Jennifer Jason Leigh or do I shoot Samuel L. Jackson? And he could have done either, and you would not have surprised you. But also, he could have done either, and I really wouldn't have cared either way.
Yeah.
I don't know who's supposed to win in this movie, so
No, I don't think it. Well, nobody wins because everybody dies.
spoiler.
Spoilers, by the way, everyone dies.
Yeah.
Well, there we go. Okay, so how many horrible gun wounds out of 5?
Me?
Yes.
3.5 for me.
Yeah?
Yeah, I wanted it to be more, but it's not quite. It's good, it's worth seeing, it's worth seeing for the dialogue, it's worth seeing for a lot of things, but it's not top tier Tarantino for me.
Mr. Tay?
I think I'd agree with over Pete, but I'm actually going to go for a 3.
Ooh.
I expect more from the great man Tarantino than just another Inglourious Basterds. His last few movies to me have felt a little bit samey. And not, I mean, obviously he has his canon and he has his style, but Pulp Fiction was revolutionary, and the way that storyline is cut and changed, that was beautifully brilliant. Give me something that blows my mind like that again.
Yeah.
You know, not something that is mainly violence.
Yeah, and a very quick note on that, I'm not a fan of his new violence style, which kicked off in Django and continues here, of when people get shot, they kind of explode like they're made out of some weird jam. The blood in it is really gloopy, and there's a lot of it, and I don't know, it just feels weird.
Yeah. Well, his makeups and special effects guy on the second credits, on the end credits, is second build.
Yeah.
And so it's directed by Quentin Tarantino, visual and makeup effects by...
Yeah, and then
Whoever
Well,
it is,
that guy did knock it out the park.
Oh, he did very well, yeah. Especially because that's what Tarantino wanted. He wanted sticky blood explosions, corn syrup and red food colouring everywhere. I want to be reminded of the Evil Dead and all the horrible things that happened there, but I want that in a Western. And that's what he got.
Fair play. So
So credit to that guy. He did 5 out of 5 because he did what he was asked by the director, and he did it perfectly. Yeah. I mean, it's the third time Tarantino's done this. This lock everyone in a situation together, and have one of them trying to figure out something, and have the audience not know what's going to happen at any moment. He did it in Pulp Fiction. He did it in Inglourious Bastards. And now he's done it for 3 hours with the Hateful Eight.
He also did it in Reservoir Dogs and Django.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Reservoir Dogs is that
The
for the
ultimate of
entire
that.
film, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. If anything, yeah, you could mirror this to Reservoir Dogs, pretty much.
I think I'd
Perfect.
rather watch Reservoir Dogs than this, though, to be fair.
Yeah. Would you watch it twice? you could do in the time of Hateful Eight.
I think there was, although as you're saying, like, you get hit with attention early on and it just holds on to that.
Yeah.
Because of that, you lose it.
Yeah.
And
Because
you
it
just
never.
become the norm. Whereas in Reservoir Dogs, it just goes up and it really catches you.
Yeah, it sort of tries to give you moments of peace, but still within that
Mm-hmm.
is the thought that somebody could just pull out a gun and kill everyone immediately.
Your score?
For me, again, I think I'm going to go 3. You know,
Okay.
because
Wow, I didn't think I was going to have the highest mark on this.
yeah, having talked about it, I think I was walking home thinking, yeah, that's about a 4, but actually, we've talked about a lot of the problems it had, really, haven't we? And I think it's probably a 3.
You know, I'd say the viewing was tainted by seeing the Revenant.
Yeah, having
before.
just seen The Revenant.
I think if I'd seen it in a different aspect without seeing it, then it might have scored higher. I think
Maybe
when
that's
I
it.
watch
I saw
again,
them the other way around. So.
hopefully
I would recommend The Hateful Eight. I would recommend people go see it, and go see it in the cinema for sure. I mean, it's the kind of thing where if you watch it on DVD, maybe you'll just pause it. And
I'm
then,
not.
yeah, maybe you'd stop it halfway through and then watch the second half the next day, because it's a really arduous task, actually. The same could be said for The Revenant.
I disagree.
felt the length of the Hateful
The
Eight.
Hateful
I
Eight,
didn't
yeah.
feel the length of the Revenant, but we'll get onto that.
I think I felt for the Hateful Eight so much because it's fucking Odeon, man.
Well,
The
yeah,
chairs are not comfy, are
Bad
they're
they?
chair.
awful.
Bad screen. I've
screen.
got better quality on my own TV.
Did you
at
have the
home.
doors left open? Because they always do that, and you can hear all the other movies, and that takes it
No,
out of it for
mercifully
me.
they did shut the doors.
Nice poo poo on the Odeon there.
Anyway,
Cool. Let's have a little pause. We're back.
yeah, we are.
Yeah, we are. Okay, so we're back now. We're going to review The Revenant in just a moment. But first, I'd like to revise my score for The Hateful Eight to a 4.
Ooh.
Because I think it's worth more than that. Thinking about it, reflecting on the 3, I was consistently entertained for just shy of 3 hours, which because there was no intermission, so technically it's about 2 hours 50, something like that. So yeah, I was consistently entertained, and it takes a lot to do that for that length of time, right? There's a lot of movies out there that I would have given 4 stars to that have dips in them where, oh, this bit's quite boring actually, or yeah, and I didn't do that, and so I'm revising it to a 4. I enjoyed The Hateful Eight a lot.
There we
go. Great.
Right.
Yep.
Okay, on to The Revenant.
Ooh.
The Revenant is a frontier American adventure about one man's fight against the adversities of nature so that he may claim revenge against the evil Tom Hardy.
Yeah.
That man is played by Leonardo DiCaprio.
Not Tom Hardy.
No, the man. The one man. His struggle.
Oh, I see what you're doing now.
Once
I'm
again-
sorry.
Once again, Tom Hardy plays Leonardo DiCaprio and his own character.
Yeah, yeah, Tom Hardy
Taking
plays
it on.
everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, Leonardo DiCaprio stars as Glass. Not the substance, the character.
Yeah.
Ah,
Ooh.
The
Is that a
man.
pun?
He was
No, it's
actually
not
yeah. It's based on some true events. It's been embellished quite.
Is
a
it?
Yeah.
I bet they've been embellished a hell of a lot.
Yeah.
Because that's a really unbelievable story.
But it's, well, not more than.
But believable at the moment that you're in it.
Oh,
Just
yeah.
on reflection that one man would be able to do that. But yeah, it's the most believable drag yourself out of the pits of hell story that you've ever seen in your life.
If I was to sum up the film in one word, that word could only be
Yeah, no, I agree, but for me it's more of a sort of like it's like somebody doing something that makes you cringe and feel uncomfortable and slightly in pain, but consistently for hours and hours.
Was it you said when we came out? It was like watching somebody touch their own eyeball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, I guess that noise is. Wow.
So pretty.
I loved it.
Yeah.
Spoiler.
Best film of the year.
Yeah, 3 weeks into the year. It's a strong one.
It's definitely best film of the year so far.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh,
yeah.
easily so far, but I reckon you can ask me this in December.
Yeah, you reckon?
I
Say
think
the
it's
same
going to
thing?
play
Wow,
really
you're that
high.
impressed
by the
with
It's
end
going
of
to
the year.
take some topping this
Yeah,
week.
me too.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is from director, what's his name?
Alejandro Gonzalez Inarritu.
Yeah, and he previously directed Birdman, which Birdman is all one long shot. Amazing! Although it's actually 4 shots, but it still looks like all one shot, and that is amazing. And I have talked about how I love all one shot on the podcast a couple of times, but just to do it again, I fucking love all one shot. It's just brilliant. They grip me, they're perfect, they're really, really good, and I really liked Birdman. I have massive admiration for it. The story of Birdman is a bit pretentious, but that's fine because it's all one shot. I think it's really, really good. And again, he brings back that style. That's very much his style, apparently. I haven't seen 2 of his films.
Some of his earlier stuff is very different to that, like 21 grams. It's just chop,
Oh,
chop, chop,
yeah,
chop, chop,
yeah,
chop,
yeah.
chop,
Oh,
all
God,
the
he did
time.
21 grams.
He
God,
is
that's
totally-
another horrific film.
He's actually sort of kind of changed tack or taken bits of each, and this feels like a sum of the styles he's used so far for me.
Yeah, so he uses the all one shot, but never for more than 5 or 10 minutes, and usually for about 2 minutes.
Yeah, it's smaller chunks, and it's implemented when it's going to have maximum effect. I think that's important here. I didn't like Birdman that much because I felt that it was pretentious, as you said.
Ditto.
I didn't feel that. I felt that the one shot thing. I like long takes as well. They're clever when they're done right, and De Palma does some wonderful ones. But it didn't feel necessary to the story. It felt more pompous than a story about a man having a midlife crisis in the theatre. But in this, in The Revenant, when it's used specifically for set pieces and things where you are in the moment as much as possible.
I would say that actually they are all over the place and they're used pretty much all the time. They're for every moment. But, in a way, every moment of this film is a
It's
set
that
piece.
intense,
Yeah, every moment is an intense set piece, really, isn't it? I mean,
No, it's a good
every
point.
moment is pure struggle for poor Leo D. Cups. He has a rough time of this. About 6 months ago, I heard Leonardo DiCaprio's got a pretentious film coming out called The Revenant, and apparently he almost caught pneumonia whilst filming it because he had to lie in a puddle for like an hour. And I thought, oh God, I bet he's just being an arsey dick, isn't he? But no, the man goes through some serious shit in this film. Major kudos to Leo D. Cups. He does very well, and this is, the man went through hell making this. Like his character went through hell with the journey. Major props to him.
Probably talk about what that journey is.
Yeah.
So it starts. It's set in the early 1820s, I think.
Frontier Society.
Yeah, we're introduced to. Yes, it is. You did a reference.
Yeah.
A current pop hit, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
Current.
Yeah, it's only
15 years ago.
about 15 years ago. Anyway, we meet Leonardo DiCaprio, who's a scout for a group of pelt harvesting men who sort of are connected to the army, but I think they're working for the time being.
Yeah,
for
I think
this
at that time
help
in
company.
Frontier America, you either lived in a farmhouse on your own, or you lived in a fort. Otherwise, the Indians will get you.
Yeah, that kind of thing. So they're collecting pelts, skinning animals, and Leonardo DiCaprio's character Hugh Glass is a scout, and he has a part Native American son called Hawk. You actually open in dream or flashback. The very beginning of the film is you see some glimpses of Hawk as a kid, and his mother who isn't in the film much but has kind of a presence.
Mm-hmm.
And then it goes into the pelt collecting and that group of men being attacked by a Native American raiding party, it seems. And all sorts of stuff's going on. It's sort of the storming of the beaches of Normandy and Saving Private Ryan level intensity of a battle happening right away for you, and you're in it. You're really in it.
Absolutely. Yeah, and the one long shot is brilliant, and it really establishes where everything is, its locality, and it really makes you feel like, holy shit, yeah, no wonder 2 out of 3 men died in this battle because they got fucked up. They were ill prepared to be set upon by a group of, I can't remember, what are they called?
They call them the Reed,
They call them
which
the Reed,
is
a short name for what their actual name is. They're not Navajo or Pawnee. They're the Ree.
They're Christians.
Oh no, it's not going to be.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So that opening battle is fantastic. Really visceral, and you really feel like anyone could die at any moment. It's awful. Yeah.
What the tribe are actually looking for is the chief's daughter, who they assume they've got held captive, but they don't. So a handful of them, about 10 of them, make it away in a boat. In their number is also Tom Hardy, playing a guy called Fitzgerald, who is quite early on. I think you realise he's quite a selfish man, quite a weak man who's going to prioritise his own survival, and with good cause.
Yeah, he's set up as the bad guy, but all the way through it's reasonably so. He's doing what is necessary to survive, and when people go, are disagreeing with him, they're kind of disagreeing with quite clear logic.
Yeah, he's got some points to make. I mean, some of it's steeped in ignorance and racism, but you can understand where he's coming from. He's not like a paper-thin villain.
Yeah, he's a wholly understandable bad guy, and he's a bit selfish, and he's afraid of being scalped again and killed by Indians.
Yeah, he's been part scalped. There's brilliant makeup effects throughout the entire film. Everything looks
and it's so
horribly real.
Yeah, so he doesn't want to drag Leonardo DiCaprio on a stretcher through the woods. Yeah, we're jumping ahead. We'll skip back in a moment. But yeah, he doesn't want to try to save Leonardo DiCaprio. He never wanted to from the start.
But I wouldn't say it's that he doesn't want to. He knows it's pointless. And it's by doing
he certainly believes it completely.
All at risk.
It's endangering the life of the group for the life of one man.
Yeah.
So I kind of... He was right.
Yeah, but you also sense that he's got a slight ulterior motive in pushing that because he doesn't like him.
Yeah, he does because he's got his son Hawk, half Indian, which then there was deep racism back in those days, and
but it's still you know where he's coming from.
Well, when you're a simple man and you're in a constant battle for your life against another type of people, maybe it's reasonable to dislike that type of people. I mean, now we look back at history and we know he was on the wrong side of that argument completely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But he's also a man who will kill your god.
That's a strange thing that we'll get back to later. Yeah. So anyway, so he do you want to continue with your explanation, Pete? So we got up to they get away from
they argue about whether or not to get off the boat, but they trust Donald Gleeson, who's great as well in this as Captain Henry. He trusts in Glass's ability to know the terrain. Yeah. So there's a bit of a, do we get off the boat? Do we go on land? What's safer?
Yeah. And they'll ambush us further down the river if we stay on the boat. Let's get off the boat.
Yeah. So
Tom Hardy disagrees, but he follows.
Yeah, and it turns out he's dead wrong because the next scene, the two guys that stay on the boat are killed. Yeah. So they go overland, and as they are doing so, Glass is out ahead of the others doing his scouting, and he is viciously attacked by a bear.
In the... Oh, that scene.
Yeah.
The bear attack is horrific.
It's about 5 or 6 minutes, I would say, but it feels longer.
Yeah. Yeah, he's attacked by this bear who... The bear doesn't, just break his neck. He just basically raking his claws across him, biting him. How he got out of that with any without broken bones.
Well,
where
his
he
leg
did-
looks quite messed
Yeah.
up.
Where
Seems
the
to
bear
crack.
grabs his arm and shakes him
Oh, yeah.
viciously, and you think, oh, well, that's your arm fucked.
Mm.
But somehow actually his arm survived that.
Slices open his neck, which is
Yeah.
a large part of why Glass doesn't say much in the movie. A lot's been said that DiCaprio doesn't have much to say. Well, for a lot of the time he can't. He
Yeah.
can't speak.
Big hole in his neck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
How he fixes the hole in his neck we'll get to later. That's horrific.
so yeah, the other members of his party find him.
Yeah. They patch him up.
Yeah.
Well, he has that massive fight with the bear. Then he makes the decision that the bear mauls him, and he's on the verge of death at that stage. The bear then gets distracted and goes away. And then I wasn't really sure if the bear was coming back for him or not, but he makes the decision to crawl to his musket, and then he does shoot the bear, which does in the end take down the bear. But I kind of think that maybe the bear wasn't.
Oh, I
Was
thought
it
the
gonna
bear.
kill
I
him?
absolutely think the bear was coming back
Yeah.
for him.
Yeah, so he was
So-
fucked unless he shot the bear.
I would have done
What-
the same damn thing.
What else was the bear going
Oh,
to
I
do?
would have fucking
Yeah.
just died. I wouldn't have done
Yeah.
nothing. I would have just died. Everything that Leonardo DiCaprio does, you're like, I wouldn't have done that. I would have just died.
Yeah, no, I would have fallen over on the beach
Yeah.
at the start, and that would have been the
Yeah.
story of me.
I wouldn't have even been killed by the people that were attacking me. I would have just slipped and hit my head on something.
Yeah.
I would have gone there. It looked like an awful place.
Yeah, I wouldn't have gone. I
Yeah,
wouldn't be
no,
there.
that's a good
I'd
point.
be in middle
Be
America
by a
where the
fire
weather is
somewhere,
clement.
indoors.
And it's and there aren't loads of natives trying to murder me. I'd be still in England. I wouldn't have gone to America.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't have made the trip, frankly.
So yeah, and then it becomes: do we cart Glass on a stretcher over mountains because they have to go over some treacherous terrain to get back to the fort,
Yeah.
or do we leave him behind because he's gonna die anyway?
Yeah.
And
They do their best to. Well, Gleason, who's a.
he's a good man. He's a good
Yeah,
man.
he is. He comes over as a good man, a good character. But his dad used to be a doctor, and he does his utmost to save Glass.
Mm.
Stitches him back up. Doesn't want to leave him. Forces the guys to carry him. When initially, straight from the beginning, Tom Hardy's like,
Yeah.
the kindest thing to do would be to put that guy down and put him
Yeah.
out of his misery. That would be.
And actually, I agree with Tom Hardy at that point.
Yeah, totally.
It totally was. Yeah.
But Gleason tries his utmost to save him, and he's only at the point where they cannot carry on carrying him on the stretcher
Yeah.
that he gives up. And when he gives up, he can't bring himself to kill him. He leaves Tom Hardy. Well, he asks for volunteers basically to stay with Glass until he dies, because he's only in them. Even in Gleason's mind, he's only got a couple of hours left.
Something like that, yeah.
But I can't sacrifice the whole group here for another case the Reeds come back down and massacre us. No, we'll leave you here. You're in God's hands, kind of thing. When he goes, give him a burial. Give him a grave, because that guy fought a goddamn grizzly bear, and he's a hero for that.
And he got us out of our situation that we were in. So,
Yeah. So
and $100 to every man who stays behind as well.
7, yeah.
So a kid called Bridger stays with him, who seems like a good kid, and Fitzgerald stays with him. And at that point, you're sort of going, because they've established what this guy's like, and
But-
he's going to be an opportunist about it.
Yeah.
And Hawke stays, of course, as well.
Yeah, Hawke's son. Yeah.
Yeah.
You understand why Fitzgerald stays though. He's got a reasonable reason for staying, because basically they lose all their pelts in the attack, and so
He wants
the
to
whole
make up
reason
the
why
money.
Fitzgerald came out into the wilderness, into the hell that is reoccupied snowy Wisconsin, is the whole reason he went out there has now been lost. So here's an opportunity. The other two forego their payment anyway. So he's like, okay, well I'm actually going to get 300 out of this, so this is kind of worth it. I'll stick around. He's probably not going to make it for another hour or so, but then he gets impatient, doesn't
He does.
he? Yeah.
You just have to blink, boy.
So Leonardo DiCaprio can't speak at that point. He's got a massive hole in his throat. But he said, if you blink, then I'll smother you as a kindness. Wouldn't you like that? You would, wouldn't you? Just blink. Go on, blink. And then Leonardo DiCaprio holds his eyes open for ages, staring him down. And it's so obvious. He doesn't want to be smothered to death. And then he does blink, and he blinks for a really long time because his eyes hurt. And then he,
Yeah, and then, well, Fitzgerald gets down to business. He's already parked over a grave, drags him in, but Hawk wants none of it. So Fitzgerald finishes off Hawk with a little knife. He shivs him up.
Yeah.
And it's horrible.
Oh, poor Hawk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then...
Yeah, so Leonardo DiCaprio has just watched Fitzgerald murder his son.
Bridger hasn't seen any of this, so Fitzgerald pretends that Hawk's just gone, doesn't know where Hawk is, and then he waits for Bridger to go to sleep, then wakes him, scaring him that the raiding party are coming back, and that they have to just leave Glass behind. And so they sort of dump him partly in the grave and peg it. But Bridger leaves something with him. He leaves Glass his canteen, which has got a very recognisable. He's etched a spiral into it, which I've got an idea about the spiral anyway.
That was a lovely scene because whilst they're waiting for Glass to die, the young lad asks Tom Hardy
about his head,
about being scalped.
Yeah.
Whilst he's doing this, he's engraving. He's basically taking a stone and he's scratching a spiral onto his canteen, and Fitzgerald starts to explain how, like, well, first of all, I didn't even feel it, and then the blood started to trickle, and it was cold, and then I felt all of it, everything, and what in the background is the noise of this kid scraping a stone against the metal canteen, and you just see this kind of like look across his face. It's a brilliant bit of acting with Tom Hardy.
Yeah, because he says, like, I didn't feel it. I didn't feel the pain. I felt the scraping against my skull.
Yeah, and there's
there's a scraping in the background. Yeah,
background.
Oh man,
lovely one. Just quit that, boy. Quit that now.
Yeah.
Once again, though, Tom Hardy has, and I think it's a bigger problem for me than anybody else who watched the film. I couldn't get everything that Tom Hardy said.
Yeah, the Hardy mumble.
He is mumbly again. He does that. He puts himself into his roles and creates a voice for them. Just often that voice is totally incoherent.
He banged it right up.
Yeah. Oh, he wasn't quite like this. That would have been an interesting choice.
Well, I got scalped and it hurt a bit, actually. I didn't feel it at first, and then I felt the blood trickling into my eyes.
But still, he very much funnels himself into this character. He's great for it, but Glass isn't nearly as dead as Fitzgerald wants him to be.
Yeah.
He's filled with anger, very understandably, for
he
what happened to
watched his
Hawk,
son
which he
get
saw,
murdered,
could do nothing about. He has a tender moment where he drags himself over to Hawk's body, and then begins essentially a chase, but a very slow one.
Yeah, well, at first, for the first few days of it, he can do nothing but crawl, can't he? Yeah. In fact, for ages, he can do nothing but crawl.
Yeah.
How does he even move forward? The sheer will.
Well, yeah, it's that wanting to survive and wanting to get vengeance. It's
just to go back a tiny little step. The bit where he goes and he lays down next to Hawk. There's this powerfully emotional scene where he kind of passes out, falls asleep, and you have a flashback. And it's partly a memory of what happened to his wife and him holding Hawk as a boy. And Hawk's been burnt in quite a nasty fire, which you learn about more later on in the film. And he's just saying, as long as you can breathe. Yeah. Just breathe. You just, whilst you can live, keep living, stay alive.
Yeah.
And that gives it, that's the kind of shows the mindset that you must be in to survive any of that at all in any way, shape or form.
Yeah, it becomes kind of the unspoken mantra of his journey, I suppose.
Yeah.
And that's followed by one of my favourite bits of it, which is a lovely subtle transition. And I know some people think, so much nature porn and whatnot in this movie. It's just it's nature porn and misery porn.
Yeah.
Alternating, but
it's definitely not a porn film.
No, no. If you're getting aroused by the Revenant, you should seek help. But the camera goes tight in on Glass, and his breath fogs up the lens. It's done as an effect, but it's done very well. And that fades through into just a camera drifting through cloud, and it becomes very peaceful and quiet. And then that transfers through to smoke from Fitzgerald's pipe.
Yeah.
And
Lovely
there's a
it is,
few of
yeah.
these things that link the characters together. There's another one with sort of like a flaming meteorite or something, where Inarito manages to link and give you a sense of distance between people. It's very nicely done. Yeah, and then they start their separate journeys, which are staggering.
Yeah.
We
horrific journey.
cut back to Fitzgerald, who's back at the camp now, and he's explaining to Gleason, or the captain Avery at the time, that we waited with the chap for as long as we could.
Yeah.
We got him into the grave, and then the reed came down, and we had to bug out basically. And the young lad, he was great. In this, he was my partner, and he's explained to him, like, when we go, you just shut the fuck up. Don't you say a goddamn thing.
Yeah.
Don't go grow no conscience, boy.
But yeah, exactly. Because the boy's worked it out. He's worked out that something's definitely gone on there.
Yeah.
And he gets up and he walks away from the table and leaves the money there, which gives Gleason a bit of an inkling that maybe things didn't go down exactly as hard.
The story.
It
Yeah.
explains it, and then you're back in with poor Leonardo, who's got a twisted ankle. He's ripped up, walking around in a bear suit, and just trying to survive the next few hours. And there's this great kind of bit in it where it is, if I can crawl over to this skeleton, I might be able to dig a morsel of food out, and that will give me enough energy
yeah.
to
Yeah, it's that little bit.
Yeah.
to get to the next little thing.
A pretty much fully decomposed skeleton. There's barely anything like the
Meat's been
smallest
picked.
morsels of anything on here. Everything's just dried and frozen, and he just smashes it and pokes out the frozen bone marrow and eats that. And he's like, this is what he has for sustenance. The film is disgusting. Just the things you see. Every time you look at Leonardo DiCaprio's hands, they're just mauled wrecks. You're expecting to see bone popping out of him at any point. Yeah, every time you see him with his shirt off, he is a mauled wreck. He looks like, I don't know, when you wrap a roast in string. That's what his back looks like. Yeah.
And that's not the end of his troubles by any means. He gets, like, he goes down waterfalls and a river and rapids when he tries to flee from.
Yeah.
and
Nobody has a problem with how cold the water is.
Oh, I think everyone's
This whole film,
pretty cold.
Yeah, no one's got waterproof shoes on. You can pretty much guarantee that. I think this was like pre the invention of solid leather boots. So yeah, everyone's got these. They're all sort of wrapped. They've got their feet wrapped in skins, basically. But these are far from waterproof shoes, and they're all just stepping in puddles like it's nothing. And that water is definitely below freezing because it is that cold. And how calm, not calm, but how he doesn't flinch when he just puts himself into the river. He's going to die if he doesn't. The Ree will see him and they will fire arrows on him within 2 seconds of seeing him. He needs to be in that water quick.
And he's given himself away because he can't talk, and it happens a couple of times in the movie, he gets a still moment and he goes back to writing down, Fitzgerald killed my son. It's his only communication, and he's making it with the world in the way that he can. But he gives himself away in that point because they see that someone's been scratching on the ground, and then they find it, and then he goes down the river.
It's around that point where you kind of get introduced a bit more firmly to the other story which is going on. So you've got Leonardo's quest for revenge or survival at this point in the movie, and then you have the Indian chief whose daughter has been stolen. He meets some French guys who are doing the same kind of frontier thing, trying to get pelts and things like that. And he just wants some horses. That's all he wants. He doesn't want anything else. He just wants horses so he can use the horses to go and find his daughter. So he does this trade, and the French are like, well, we never agreed to give you any horses. And there's a wonderful moment where he then turns back around to the French guy and speaks in French. It's like, well, no, of course I know French. You're not the first French person I've ever met. You're not the first to come here. You're talking about honour. You guys have stolen everything from us, and somebody's stolen my daughter, and I want a horse to find my daughter. And the French guys give him some horses and send him on the way.
Well, in fact, he then threatens them because the guy's just completely disrespectful to him. Like, if he talks about horses again, the deal's off. Tell him that. And he hears this and just goes, okay, well, now I'm going to speak in French and I'm going to say to you, I'm taking horses. I'm giving you these pelts because it's respectful and I'm a respectful person. But I'm taking horses because I need them. You can stop me if you want. You're welcome to try. But he knows he's got more men, so he'll just fuck up the French.
Yeah. One thing that I was happy for, and it might be a small thing, I don't know, is that nearly everything that the indigenous people in the movie say is subtitled.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the time, especially in old westerns as well, you wouldn't get that. It would, you don't. You're not
it would
given.
Yeah.
These people aren't given the sort of the depth and the range and the respect that they deserve. And I liked that this film went, these are people with their own agendas, with their own ideas and intellect, and we'll be frank about that.
Probably because in old westerns or old TV shows, when the Indians were speaking, they weren't actually saying their language. They weren't actually speaking their own language. They were just making up funny things and then pointing a lot and getting their point across that way. Because why would we bother to get actual Native American actors who can actually speak their Native American languages?
Yeah, it wasn't the priority of the studios who created those things.
But it's nice to see this.
Yeah, it's just a small thing. I did like it. In terms of tone, the whole thing I loved. It reminded me to look at of Terrence Malick's films. He made The New World, which had Colin Farrell in, which is a very clean. That's actually my least favourite Malick film. It's very sedate and beautiful, but it doesn't have edge to it. It was like someone took that and fed it through the heart of darkness feeling of Apocalypse Now and the gritty horribleness of a film called Aguirre, the Wrath of God that Werner Herzog made in the 70s. It has this dirty, grimy, horrible it really goes into the sort of the indifference of nature. Nature doesn't care if you live or not. It's just going to be there. You have to deal with it.
Yeah, and when you're living in a society that basic, that's what people are like as well. People become indifferent to each other. That's why Tom Hardy is the way he is in the film. Yeah.
But at the same time, it's beautiful. The camera glides gorgeously. When it needs to be shaky and get in someone's face, like in the final battle, or final confrontation, I should say, it does, and it gets sort of shaky and a bit more like that. But for the most part, every shot, there's a Twitter feed called One Perfect Shot, where they just show you a still from a movie that's like a beautifully posed thing. They could just mine this movie for a year.
Yeah.
So often I was like, I love
so
that
pretty.
that shot. Like even just little things, like there's a bit where the camera's pointing about sort of 60 degrees into the air. You can see trees at night and sparks from a fire just at the bottom of frame going up into it. I was like, it's lovely.
Yeah.
So many little things all the time.
Every frame is perfect. I'd agree.
I've never seen a movie that felt so real.
Yeah.
So you've got a large battle at the beginning between the pelters and the reed. I mean, and these guys are getting shot through with arrows. And it looked as if I'm actually watching a guy get shot through with an arrow. At no point did I went, that's a special effect. And there were loads throughout the movie, and at no point did you see it or feel it. It was so well done and so well made. And
the whole bear attack had to be CGI, right?
Yeah,
There's no way you could do that with a real bear.
No,
or a guy in a
I
suit.
watched a real bear attack Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yeah,
that
you
really happened.
Fully believed it, absolutely.
Utterly convincing.
Yeah, the whole movie is completely convincing. You never question it at all. It's so filthy. Everything is, and his lips by the end are so chapped in this horrible way. You kind of look at that and go, I bet that's not even makeup. I bet that's just what he's like after the shoot of this film. Or maybe it is makeup, I don't know.
This is what I think, it's every element of production. I mean, you see a film that's good and you go, it's good because of the acting, or it's good because of the photography or something. But this is like someone's just put everything up to the top. There's no weak link in production. Everyone's bringing their best to make something classic.
I thought the jokes didn't land.
Well, it's not really meant to be a comedy, is it? Jokes.
Yeah, I don't think the puns were very effective. Or the songs.
Oh, you're being facetious.
Songs weren't good.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Wonderful. There is a joke. Wow, no, there's not. There are 3 moments of levity in the whole film.
Are there?
Yeah.
Okay.
There is Tom Hardy drunkenly falling over in the snow,
Yeah.
which I laughed at.
Okay.
Again, Tom Hardy telling the story about his dad thinking that
Oh,
God was a
yes.
squirrel, so he shot it, which is morbidly funny, but funny nonetheless. And a really delightful scene in the middle, because Glass meets a Native American man who helps him, who sort of builds a shelter for him in the storm and stuff.
Yeah.
And they sit together, catching snowflakes on their tongues.
Yeah.
And it's nice.
That was nice.
That's it, though.
Yeah.
That's your fun.
Yeah. Those 3 moments.
They
Yeah.
were really healing moments as well. There was when you could kind of stop, take
Yeah.
a little bit of stop.
Mm.
The gun's not pointed at my head anymore,
Mhm.
and then back into it.
He
And people-
meets a Pawnee man after he's basically at the very end of his crawling phase, where he's just been dragged out of a river and he's literally got nothing. He can barely survive another moment, and then he meets a Native American Pawnee man, and he was previously married to a Pawnee woman, and his son is half Pawnee, and so this man helps him and cleans his wounds and gives him some raw liver to eat, which is a nice bit where they eat raw liver together. Also, there's
Beside a fire.
There's fires right there.
Yeah.
But he's so desperate to eat it. He eats it, throws up, then eats it some more. There's fire right there, dude.
Just
Yeah.
do a nice rare steak.
Yeah. Or maybe liver is nicest when raw, because I hate liver.
Oh, no, I wouldn't, yeah.
No, it's
Yeah.
never
I'm
good.
far.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't survive out there. I've seen some comments that there's too much shots of nature and the film could be shorter because of that, but I think you need those bits. If you
Yeah.
took those out, it would just be a bit much.
It's a bit much as is.
Well,
I don't know, but I don't think anything in it's unnecessary.
No.
You know, it's long, but it's
It
a
doesn't feel its
grand
length.
story. It's an epic. It's a
Mm.
frontier epic, and it's justifiably the size it is. If anything, toward the end, I felt it sort of clipped along a bit. I was like, oh, okay, going on, okay. I mean, I liked the pacing at the end, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
There's very little about the film I could really fault, to be honest. There's only
Once
one-
he's made it back to the camp, and it becomes, or the fort,
Mm.
and it becomes evident that Fitzgerald betrayed him, and he goes out with
Gleason's character, the
with
captain.
Domhnall Gleeson's captain character, and they go out to find Fitzgerald because Fitzgerald's now run away. Yeah, it does pick up the pace then. I didn't want it to maintain that slow pace though. I did want them to go on.
Yeah, it's good that
Also-
it gets that second wind.
Also, he's
absolutely.
then, he's had a good meal and a night's rest.
Yeah.
And they set off in the morning, and you feel like he's now ready for his revenge. Before, he was just struggling to survive.
Yeah, he's
and
got
it's a
his strength
fucking
back.
miracle that he made it to camp.
Yeah.
But now, he's a man on a mission. Kill
Yeah, and
Fitzgerald.
you really feel the momentum of that, and you're ready for the story to reach a conclusion as well. You're not
Yeah.
bored, but you want
Mm.
that resolution as much as
Eager
he does.
for it, yeah.
Yeah,
It's incredibly long. It's a very long film, but it didn't feel its length.
no, I don't think it does.
The moment it came out of the cinema, I felt like I'd been on a journey, taking through something. But
Yeah.
at no point was I not absolutely fascinated by what I was seeing on screen. For me, there were maybe 3 things about the film that weren't fantastic.
Okay.
First of all, I struggled with Tom Hardy's voice.
Yeah.
But that's Tom Hardy, and maybe that's me because you guys didn't seem to struggle as much.
Well,
with
you
that.
struggled the first time and understood him the second
Yeah, I
time.
have seen it twice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I pretty much understood everything he said, I think, but it was all on the cusp. He's definitely mumbling his way through it again.
Then there was the shot that you guys thought was brilliant and was the only part in the film where I felt special effect, and that was when the horse went over the cliff,
Yeah.
which is it's in the trailer.
Yeah, but then the camera follows it, and
Yeah.
sort of it goes
Yeah.
down over the tree, and you get a very vertiginous shot.
I
that pushes in a
wanted
bit.
that to go even further and to have one long tracking shot through every branch of the tree, seeing all the broken ones that he hit on his way down, and then and then seeing him at the bottom, and then tightly zooming into his face, and then a little breath with him going, okay, so he lived through that. Holy shit!
I just
But
would have taken you out of the film.
Yeah, it would have been a bit.
Because up until that, it was so real, everything, and that's the only bit of the film to me that didn't look real, as if someone just turned up with a camera and filmed the events that were happening. And last was the stupid hats at the end. Him and the captain go off to hunt down Tom Hardy, and he's got a weird hat made out of loads of different furs, and the cap's wearing like a Russian hat, and to me they just looked silly.
Oh,
One of your big issues was hats.
Yeah.
And that's the only three flaws I could pull out of it.
Yeah.
And they were hats of the style of the time, completely in fitting with the movie and feel.
Yeah.
But to
you
me,
don't even know that, but you don't doubt it, do you?
Oh no,
You just-
yeah,
It did look like he climbed inside an Ewok.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it did.
But I didn't have a problem with that.
Well, yeah. If you can only pick out 3 things that you don't like about a film, and one of them is hats,
Yeah, which were perfectly fine.
yeah,
with the
which
film,
were absolutely accurate, then I think that's praise more than it is damnation.
I have exactly one niggle.
Go on.
And it's a niggle I had on the first view that I kind of didn't have as much on the second one. I like the music in it a lot, which is by Ryuichi Sakamoto and Alvin Noto. It's a beautiful score.
I'll definitely remember those names forever.
Well, you can...
It was a beautiful score.
There we go.
Yeah,
it's
it
a
was
beautiful
a great
score.
score, yeah.
It's not a traditional Hollywood score. It's got some lovely drones in it, and it kind of it broods and it murmurs behind the characters. But there's one bit where Glass is having a dream about a church, where everything gets a bit too big. The music really goes a bit full on, and then it cuts to him hugging a tree,
Yeah.
and then that isn't even really there, and that's also part of the dream. And that's the only bit I was like, I'm not sure that's been handled the best. But that's it. That's my only fault
For me,
with the whole thing.
Again, I dislike that, but not because of the music. I just dislike ethereal, dreamy flashbacks. Or just dream sequences in general. I don't think they really add something. But then I don't get them either. I don't necessarily get what those scenes were trying to say, other than, oh, he feels the loss of his family. I get that.
Well, I think
normally
that
agree
if they
with you,
weren't,
but
if they weren't there, he doesn't say anything really. So you need to put that in there somehow. And I think it's quite definitely done a lot of the time.
I don't think that. I think it would have been evident that he has a son who is half Pawnee, therefore he clearly had a wife who was half Pawnee at some point. His son is covered in burns. You can extrapolate from that from that information you can extrapolate a backstory in your own head, and everyone's going to come to around about the same conclusion. Oh, they were obviously attacked. Maybe it was by some racists. That's why he's making his son. He says to his son, you have to be invisible to these people, to white men. You have to try to be invisible in their society because they will never trust you. And, and that would have been enough for me. That scene and the burns on his face and the fact that he has that son and that he no longer has a wife with him, clearly. I guess maybe I would have thought, oh, maybe he's going to go back to his wife at some stage. Maybe just one line about his wife, like, oh, your mother was. If he'd just said that your mother was this. But you didn't even have to say, oh, when we lost your mother, or say something like that. He just referred to her in the past tense at one point. That would have been enough then for me to go, okay, that's his entire backstory. I get all of that. I don't need those flashbacks.
Normally, I completely agree with you. And you could have, the film would have worked without those flashbacks. But normally a flashback takes you out of the movie, and it's just irreverent self-pleasure and bollocks for the director. But this, it worked. It was beautifully done. Yeah, they weren't overly long.
Yeah,
no, they weren't overly long. I'll give them that. Yeah, they didn't outstay their welcome.
Without them, I don't know if you know who he is, because really, events go bad from the off. You have one scene before shit kicks off of him hunting with his son. That's it. That's all. So you don't get a bedding in of what his moral values and everything else about him. And that's maybe another thing that I have with it, is that for a long time I didn't know who Glass was.
It gives him
as
a
a
soul,
man.
doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
But I feel you could have extrapolated that from what he does in the actual film. What he does is he goes on this incredible revenge trip to hunt down Fitzgerald. Not because Fitzgerald left him for dead. I think he could have forgiven him that. Because, this is the environment we're in. And if someone's dragging you down, then, you're a son of a bitch for trying to smother me. Yeah. But I'm after you because you killed my fucking son. And I loved my son. And I'm going to... he was everything I had.
He didn't begrudge the captain for saying, we'll leave him here.
Yeah.
That wasn't the issue. It's about
and he
Hawke.
even forgave Will Poulter's character, Bridger. And he vouches for him and said it wasn't Bridger's fault. He was tricked by Fitzgerald. Let him off. I just want Fitzgerald. He killed my boy. And I'm going to take him down. And that to me was enough character.
Okay, well that's a fair.
The two other moments I'd kind of bring light to there was the excellent Rambo reference, where Glass he's got a hole ripped in his throat, which is first shown to you when he first skips water.
He's drink and it just comes out.
He drinks and this bloody water dribbles out a hole in the side of his neck, and you're like, oh my god!
Yeah, that was the biggest cringe moment for me.
Yeah, that was really out there, wasn't it?
Yeah, and that was the point where I wanted to look away so badly, but you don't look away at any point in this whole film.
You are
glued to it, aren't you?
Mm.
You were saying like, I was reaching for my drink blindly
Yeah,
because I don't want to look away.
Well, and he I say a Rambo nod, but he uses the black powder to burn and seal up the hole in his neck, which is again a horrendous thing to do with yourself, but just shows the type of man he is and his will
it
to
shows the
survive.
mechanics of it. It's got that bare bones, like in The Country for Old Men. It reminded me of Cormac McCarthy a lot, which is probably why I liked it a lot.
That part where he cauterizes his neck wound with gunpowder is an incredible moment of cinema. Just because you see him put the gunpowder in, you're like, no, that's awful. But then he takes like another minute to prep the fire so he can do it, so you know it's coming at any moment. And then when he does it, and it's obviously incredibly painful, and he actually passes out from the pain of it. Yeah,
that was moment number 2 was the wonderful Star Wars reference.
Oh, what, climbing inside the horse for war?
He guts the tauntaun.
He tauntauned his horse.
Yeah. And that was brilliant because again it's a wonderful survival trick. It's something he had to do in that moment.
Yeah.
It looks horrific.
I wonder how much you could get for it as a property in London.
Yeah. Yeah. I love those two moments. So, especially the neck burning one. That was fabulous. Just seeing how he kind of dealt with the next trial and tribulation to go through. Yeah.
And a brief bit later on, when he does catch up with Fitzgerald after doing a very nice bit of, he tricks him quite nicely.
He's a clever guy. Yeah.
But he's got like this little. It's not an axe. It's a hatchet.
Tom Hawke.
Yeah, Tom Hawke. He just reels it, and the shot is so fast. But he slices off to Fitzgerald's fingers, and it's such a fluid, quick moment. But you're just like, oh,
yeah.
This is going to be one of those fights. Okay, this is going to be like in Deadwood when Dan and the captain brawled in the street and he pulled his eye out. This is going to be one of those.
Yeah.
And it is.
Yeah, it was. I thought he was going to... He stabs him in the leg at some point when he's crawling up him. Like, they're both beaten to the point where they can barely get up. And he stabs him in the leg. I thought he was going to rake his way up him, stabbing him like he's a cliff edge.
Yeah,
but that didn't happen, mercifully, I guess. But
yeah.
What do you make of because he doesn't actually kill Tom Hardy in the end. He gets him to the point where he could have had him, and then he just shoves him in the water because the Ree are then there. Yeah. They've reclaimed their princess. I'm not sure if princess is the right word.
Daughter, I think.
Yeah, daughter is the right word. Daughter of the chief. It's not fucking Pocahontas. Yeah, the chief's daughter has been reclaimed, and they're journeying back, and they see him fighting with Fitzgerald, and he's just won. And then he gives away Fitzgerald to the Pawnee, to the Ree, sorry. Yeah. And then they scalp him, and do away with him. So what do you make of that? Him not taking his final moment of revenge and instead giving him away. What does that say?
It comes off the back of Tom Hardy's line, which, after all the terrible, terrible things that have happened to Leonardo in the movie, that line then at the end that Tom Hardy gives him, which is, "You've come so far for your revenge, but it won't bring back your son."
Yeah, just to fuck him like that. I thought, oh man, that's almost worse than killing his son.
I also got a couple other things out of it, because his reply to that, and he says it in Pawnee, I think.
Revenge is in the hands of the gods.
Yeah, which is something that his brief companion in the middle of the film said to him.
Yeah.
And there's also a nice sort of callback or circular thing about it, because in essence what he does is kind of what Tom Hardy did to him. He's got him at this point where he is very much life or death is in the balance, and he lets him go. It's like, it's up to you to save yourself, albeit briefly, and with those guys just over there who are handily going to fuck him up. But there is an element of putting him back in the same situation, very briefly. But what I was interested when I was watching the first time, just for a little bit, the spiral that he draws on the canteen. I was interested by that, because that bookends that scene nicely, because it starts with a snail with a spiral on it. That's how the shot begins, and it ends looking at the spiral on the canteen.
Okay, yeah.
But I was like, why a spiral? What is with this? And I thought about that a little bit, and I remembered that what people say about violence and vengeance is a circle.
No, yeah.
But it's not, because you get back to the start of the circle.
But you're in a different place.
Yeah, you're in a different place. You don't have that innocence that you had at the start of the journey again. You never will. So maybe instead it's like a spiral. The more you do, the more you end up affecting the world around you. It spirals out. Yeah. You can't get back to the central point. And maybe also at the end, that's his choice of, well, how do I get out of the spiral?
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe I'm reading too much into that.
No, I think that's really good, actually, yeah. The final shot of the film was quite harrowing for me, because it's this really close-up shot of Leonardo DiCaprio, and he's tried to get himself out of the spiral, as you said, and he let Tom Hardy go, and he's watched him being killed, and then the Ree go past him, and they leave him there in the snow, and you know that he'll probably make it back to. He's not fucked. Like, he's been beaten up bad, but he'll make it back. He made it back out of the grave to the fort. He can make it back from where he is now, no problem. But he just looks directly into the camera, and he has this harrowing look in his eyes, like, what on earth have I just been through, and what do I do now? Now that I've gotten this, what do I possibly have to live for? All I had was my son. Yeah, all I had was my family, and then all I had was my son, and then all I had was my vengeance, and now that's gone, and I have nothing. And he just feels so sorry for him. Your heart breaks for him in that moment. And then the film ends.
Yeah, it fades quite quickly into black and credits. But preceding that, he also sees his wife again, or Hawk's mother. And she is dotted through the film, mainly in the flashbacks and the dreams.
She's this ethereal, angelic
and
figure,
I like that it didn't overplay that, because it could have gotten a bit wishy-washy mysticism and a bit too in the hands of God. It has a touch of that, and maybe you could argue that it doesn't go anywhere with it, but it added a nice sort of feel around the movie to me, as opposed to overbearing it. It was a
So
welcome thing.
who was the Revenant? Was it his wife, or was it him?
You could argue both. I think it's meant to be him.
Yeah.
I thought it was the squirrel that Tom Hardy shot.
Who he then wears on his head. Is it the same squirrel?
Maybe it's Poaka, the chief's daughter.
Yeah. There you go. Okay, so, what did we all think of it? Tay?
What's the scale?
What's the score? How many
pussy
stepping in a cold puddle
Really? It's the cold
That's
puddle.
the bit. That's what you took
That's
from
the
the
bit
film.
that really got me. They just step in these puddles, and you know they're cold. You know their shoes aren't waterproof, and you know they're going to have to walk with soggy socks for miles and miles and miles. But they step in a puddle like it ain't no thing, and it's a thing. I wouldn't step in a puddle now.
If you're walking through snow, you've got wet feet.
If you're listening to this still,
Yeah.
you've got this far.
Well done.
Send in just £2 a month, and maybe we can build some roads in America.
Yeah, that's what America needs. Your charity.
Yeah,
That's,
infrastructure. Come on,
yeah,
that is a nation
Yeah.
in need.
yeah. Not even a big road, just like a stepping stone path from where you want to go to one place to another. Yeah.
Or wellies.
Yeah.
Yeah, or sand wellies.
Yeah. So no, I'm sticking by it. Okay, so how
Good.
many
Soggy socks.
on purpose, or how many indifferent puddle missteps? Indifferent puddle missteps out of 5.
5. Every single one of them
Yeah.
well earned.
Yeah.
It was beautifully shot. The score was fantastic. The acting was phenomenal. I've never felt a film that has been so real and just gripping from start to finish. From the moment you get into that film till the very end, I couldn't take my eyes off of the screen.
Okay. So question: will you watch it again, and how long will you leave it?
There's one. I definitely would watch it again. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I think I have to see that again because there must have been things that I had to blink. Unfortunately, due to human biology, I had to blink, and I want those moments back. That I missed. I think I might give it a month or 2.
Yeah.
I think I need to recover. I need to heal,
Yeah.
much like Leonardo did. And then, but yeah, no, I'd happily go and watch that film again. Absolutely.
Cool. Pete.
I echo everything you said. I don't dish out 5s that often. I kind of try and reserve them for when they're really those above the bar films. This is a solid 5 for me, absolutely. I absolutely love it. As for rewatchability, I've watched it twice in 3 days. I was absolutely up for seeing it. It's one of those very rare moments when I know that you don't have that feeling toward it of rewatchability, but I wanted to see it again the minute it finished.
Yeah.
I was just like, just give me that immersion again. Remarkable filmmaking. I've had my doubts about Inarritu before, but I'll be very interested to see what he does now. If anyone can actually bring Blood Meridian to a screen, it's him now. I think if he's the director to bring that movie to life. I don't know if he'll choose to. He's probably moving on to new pastures having done this, but wonderful.
Okay.
Wonderful.
What about you?
Yeah, I'd give it 5 as well.
Could you watch it?
I will probably not watch it again for many years, and I may never watch it again. I've never gone back to rewatch Grave of the Fireflies because it was quite a harrowing experience watching that.
That's a
However,
sad one, isn't it?
it's a brilliant film and you can't deny it. Again, this is fantastic. Everything he's tried to do with this film has worked perfectly. And never have I been so gripped by somebody's journey. I would say a story, and there's obviously a story there, but it's not the intrigue, but it's the moment to moment. Oh my God! Look what's happening now-ness of it all. And I can't believe he's doing that. I can't believe he's putting gunpowder in his neck wound. I can't believe he's crawling into the corpse of a dead horse. I can't believe he's crawled out of that grave. I can't believe he's putting himself in that puddle. Just everything. It's just so much. But yeah, it was so gripping in every way. And it worked perfectly. Leonardo DiCaprio. I wonder if this will get him the Oscar.
I think
It's not worthy enough to get an Oscar, I don't think.
He's earned it.
He definitely earned it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
This is one of the best performances I've ever seen from anybody, not in terms of character, but in terms of putting yourself through something.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, I think this very well could be his year. That's been said before. His only other major competition in terms of Oscars is possibly Bryan Cranston for Trumbo.
Which will play incredibly well with the Oscar crowd.
Yeah, but that's also not up for anything else. That's the only thing that film has in the ring, as far as I can remember. Revenant's got 12 nominations.
So maybe it's actually not that great.
A few. Yeah, well, apparently there's some issues with how correct the film is in terms of facts. But I suppose you could probably say the same for Revenant. Anyway, that's a much longer, shitter conversation about Oscars. Yeah, I hope it's his year. I hope it's the film's year. I know Birdman took the honours last year away from Boyhood. But yeah, this is the film to beat in 2016.
I'd just like to say, Leo, if you're listening, and I think you are, I'd give you 2. Straight up, mate. I'd give you 2 Oscars for that. That was fabulous. Well done, you.
He done all right.
Best actor and best lips. For those shitty, cracked, crusty lips.
Oh.
Crikey.
Okay, well, that'll do for an end. Thanks for coming, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for watching those 2 movies in very quick succession. I hope you go watch a kids' film now.
So far,
yeah.
I'll see you again at the same time next time.
Right, that's the end. Bye.
Bye.